Okay, for a more in-depth character customization with pun. So the first thing you need is obviously some kind of canvas. Go with 2D, and what we need is, well, we also need the proxy. Networking setup, no, components. Add photon proxy to scene, and that should give us that. Auto-find actor should be fine. So you have to have this. I would hope you would know that. And this is going to be master. Right, so now if you've seen any of my photon networking stuff, I do this pretty much the same. Photon connect, connect to master, connect using settings, or is it connect to master? It's one of those. It's that one. So we want to connect using settings, and we want to find out when that happens. So we need a custom event, photon, connected to master, and we want to next frame event, and then join lobby. That allows us to see other rooms. If you're going to use lobbies, there's numerous ways to do this, but anyways, if you join lobbies, now you can access room lists and stuff. If you're not in a lobby, you can't see the created rooms that are in a lobby, I guess you could say. So you don't need to join a lobby and things will work. Joining a lobby gives you some more opportunities for some stuff. Anyways, let's go custom events on, we'll say on join lobby. Okay, so now we're going to join lobby. Let's make some buttons. So we will have probably a slot system, and I will actually, you know what, we're going to give this a background, and I'm going to put this to scale with screen size. Get rid of that for now. UI panel, let's just give it something for some color, or in this case no color, or is it every color? Dun, dun, dun. So let's give it a, what should we do? Let's do a panel. I'll put this over here though. Something like that. Let's bring this down. Something like that. And I am going to give it a vertical layout group. Oh, I spelled that completely wrong. There we go. So we're going to have I'm gonna do it with 3 slots. All right, so what a slot is really for us is going to be a button like that, right? And if I duplicate that, because it's in a vertical layout group, it comes out like that. Now that looks kind of silly lined up like that, so I'm going to put some spacing to it like that. Nothing special. And I can move this thing around. Life is good. So these buttons, and you can add images and do all sorts of stuff to this. I'm not going to worry about that, but they have the word text, and we're gonna use that. Okay. So I am at the moment not going to put any logic on those. But I'm just going to prefab that button, just a basic button. There's nothing to it. So if we have, do I have, I don't think I brought in a save. All right, let's bring in easy save. Apparently I have to download it. Thank God it's small. And in a lot of ways, I'd rather do it without easy save, because I'm fairly used to building my own save system anyway. So, but that's a different story. Okay, so now we have easy save. So what do we want to do? We need an FSM. Yeah, I'll put it on. Yeah, I'll put it on this guy. But I'm going to make this thing not run on the start. He's actually going to run on an event called start logic. And then I'm going to call that from when we join a lobby. Which will be something like that. So ideally what we want is we want a character and we want slots. So when we start slots, we have A, we know where the slots are going to go. B, we have a slot item. So we want to load, I think just load. That's from easy save. So we need a key. So we're gonna call it slot 1. And the value is going to be a var. So let's do, should we do a name? Yeah, let's do a name. String slot 1 name. So we'll need a slot 2 name and a slot 3 name. So we're going to load slot 1 into that. You can put a default value or a failed. That'll prevent some errors. And I wonder if I should just do default. No, the failed will fine. So we're going to load a value. And actually, you know what? I think I will do a default. I think that'll just make it easier. It's a string. Default. Let's not use the failed. Delete transition and finished. So we're going to load that. And then we are going to string compare. So if slot 1 is equal to that, it's empty. There's nothing in it. If it's not equal to that, it has something. Anyways, we don't know what the hell it is, but it has something, right? So if it's empty, let's create a button, and the parent is going to be slot holder, and we're going to store that as the created button. No, let's call that something. Let's call it created button 1. Created button 1, and then let's let's get child. Let's get the child of the button, or the created button. The child name we know is called text. We don't know what is tagged, and that's going to be text, and set text below the child on text is going to be a new game, and finish. All right, and I'm going to just leave that for a minute. If it has something, then we've loaded some slot name, and I just want to redo this again, only now we can set it to slot 1 name. And now I can take all of that, copy it, and paste it, and let's delete this, and I'll just drag it all down here. Right, maybe I'll just do two slots for this tutorial, so it's faster instead of 3. So we'll do slot 2 name. If slot 2 name is compared to this, it's empty, right? It's the exact same thing. This is the same. I'm going to do created button 2, and get child of created button 2. That's the same. That's all the same, and there, and slot 2 name. All right, so now technically just hitting play, we should get 2 buttons pop up that show new game. There we go. New game. Right, pretty simple. So here, now that we've got that, how do we want to do this? Okay, so we would need to have a player, some sort of default player. I'm just going to grab anything. I'm going to grab this guy here. We're going to call him, I'm going to unprefab him, and I'm going to call him player. And you can use multiple models and stuff. I can possibly get into that at a later date. So our player, let's see what he has that we can manipulate. Yeah, SWAT glasses. And I think his head, he doesn't really have the masks and stuff. You know what? He's not a good choice. Where's that guy that doesn't have a helmet? Alright, we'll use this guy. He doesn't have a helmet. We can use him. Call him player. Take this guy. Oh, we never did prefab them. Okay, good. I didn't want to prefab them. So we have things, right? Customizational things, and these literally could be anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an empty, and we're going to call this head prop. And I'm just going to grab stuff in here. There's some hair. Sure, we'll bring a woman's hair. Why not? Bring that. Sure, let's just bring a bunch of this stuff in here. Fly at it. Yeah, hockey mask going, horse mask going, all sorts of stuff. So here you have a bunch of things, right? And said you can have one on the hand, on the hip. Like it's endless. You can do all sorts of these things. I should probably do two just to demonstrate that a little bit. Maybe I will do a left hand prop. I don't know why you'd have a left hand prop, but we're going to have a left hand prop. So let's do, I don't know, a bomb, briefcase, duffel bag, maybe handcuffs. Sure, let's bring in a mallet. All right. Grab all those. They look kind of silly sitting the way they're sitting, I suppose, but whatever, not a big deal. I mean, as long as you get the idea of what's happening, it really doesn't matter what these things look like, I suppose. They are just props. All right, so there's a left-hand prop. Okay, so now that we have props, our player needs, we'll say, custom. And the player has, he needs a way to get that. So we're going to do, we'll just say custom event. And we get custom event. Now, the way I'm going to do this, because it's also for multiplayer, and you want these things to show up multiplayer, there's a couple little things we can do. So the first thing is I'm going to get event string, and that's going to be our data. I want to string split this data that we don't know what it is yet with a separator of, say, a slash, and store it into our data string variable, which we also don't have yet, but now we do. And then I want to array get. We need two of those. And this is kind of where custom actions can actually be really useful. To really cleans this up. So data string, we're going to get index 0, and this is going to be our head ID, we'll call it. And data string index 1, this can be our hand ID. Okay. Let's just clean that up by going down one. You don't have to do that, but now get child number. We need two of those. All right, so we need a reference to our left-hand prop and our head prop. Oop. Head prop. And we need the index of hand ID. He needs the index of head ID. We'll just store that as head, or you can store it as prop 1 or prop 2. It don't really matter. Hand, and I'm going to activate solo. I need 2 of those. All right, and bring those down, just like that. And we want hand. Oh, I don't even know what that one does. I don't even bother looking into it. And head. Maybe we'll leave that on. I don't know. Right? Simple as that. And the reason I do this string splitting and doing it this way is because it's multiplayer. The multiplayer deals with strings with Playmaker. So if you format your system this way, it's very easy to add your photon ID and say tack it on the end. And if you're in level, do this exact same method, but we're going to tack on whose player it is. But anyways, we'll get to that after. So here we have just strings, and we're going to custom. Pretty simple, right? So now let's prefab this guy. Right? So what's the other thing we need is if we let's call that a slot window, and start logic. Let's also activate the slot window. So I think I want it deactivated to start. I think that'll look cleaner. Oh, no, the slot holder. That's what I want to deactivate at the start, not the slot window. Slot windows are background. So the other thing we would need is some sort of system put in place for the actual customization. So here we could have, you could use sliders, buttons, toggles, whatever. I'm going to use sliders. I think sliders are easy to use. All right, stick one here. Actually, let's not do that yet. I'm going to give it also a text up there. We'll call this one like head or head prop or something. Right, and you can pre-do this part, or if you just happen to know if all your characters are going to be the same lengthwise on this, then it won't matter. Like for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So length of 5, and that's for the hand. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So okay, well if our head thing has 8, then he should be whole numbers, max value 8, and you can do that programmatically, but you don't have to. All right, so let's make this one, and this one can be hand, and the hand we know is a little different because he has 5, not 8. There we go. So now we have these two things, and we can call this one the custom window or something. Right, and all right, so now we're here. So we need a button array. Which in our case we have 2. We have create a button 1 and create a button 2. So we have clicked button 1 clicked and button 2 clicked. now we have those two things clicking. Right, so if we click one of these things, right, now if it's a new game or is it a loading game, right, there's definitely a difference there. So the other thing we need is a variable player, a blank player. And I also want, like we have this camera set up, right? And if I move, how is this camera? I'm going to turn this 180, and I'm going to put them up at, I don't know, something closer to that. Should angle them down a little bit. What else should we give this guy? Let's give some lighting. This camera needs some lighting because that looks crappy. Yeah, no shadows. Something like that. Well, I mean, that range is. There we go. So now we have a spot. Now I can create the player at 0, 0, 0 and he'll be in the right spot. More or less. So we'll get rid of him. All right, so now what do we want to do? We want, actually, you know what would make this even better? Let's create a render texture. And this camera will render to a render texture, which also means we need a new camera. There we go. Problem solved. So this render texture, where is it? Right there. He now is there. I'm going to up his resolution and times it by, say, 8. Times that by 8. And then we're going to go up here. We're going to create our little custom window. We have our sliders. I also now want a raw image, which is going to be that render texture. Right, and I'm going to expand that, fill up a little more, and there we go. And then we need a button here as well, you know, like a done button. All right, so let's drop that, go back to here. So if we've clicked a button, we need to know if we are, if we have a game or not. So let's do some bools. Has slot 1. I don't know if that's good naming. And has slot 2. Right, so in here, set bool value is if we're empty, then slot 1 is false. Over here, slot 1 is true. And over here, slot 2 is false. Copy that one. And slot 2 is true. So if we click on something, the first thing we want to do is just find out what we're doing. So we've clicked on slot 1. Let's go test that one. True and false. True and false. So if it's true, then we can create a player and do something. we can create, oh, we already got that variable, I think. Create player. Oh, I don't need two of them. I only need the one. Create player. So the position there will be fine. Create player. And then we need to do something from there. And if it's false, then we have a character. And again, we're going to do the same thing. There's just additional things that we need to do. So if it's true, if we have something, then we need to more or less load another string. So we're going to load slot 1. So let's load another string if it's true. Let's load another key, which will be, say, slot 1 custom. And that's going to be a value string data. We'll call that one data. And he's going to go into data. And default value, we can use default. It's just a blank string. All right, so this one's going to be the same kind of string as we put on that player, which is going to end up being an array. All right, so now we want to set event data. Actually, I guess we can, I think there's a string. Set event string data, there we go. With data. And send event to, I'm just going to use the player reference, even though I've already deleted them apparently. Boop. Custom. All right, but that's on our created player. So now, what's the other thing we need to do? We'll deal with the buttons and joining games after. All right, so now we have slot 1 custom. We've loaded it because we know we have it because we have this one, and they're going to work in tangent. So we have clicked the game, we have a player. If we don't have a player, then let's do the same thing, only this one we're not going to load. Let's set string data, or set string value. Let's set data to be 0, 0. Beyond that, they can do the same thing. For now, there we go. So that should give us, and if we follow it, all right, so we're in our thing, we have new games. If I click that, as you see, it runs down this line, it creates, it sent all that, and we have, now we have to activate our window, but we have all of this, and it split everything for us, and it activated everything for us. And if we actually go to our player, we should see Hand prop. Oh, yeah, you know what? He's working fine, but we still have this guy sitting here. There we go. Right, so he actually worked fine. So let's get rid of him before he screws me up anymore. And let's go over here. So the other thing, of course, we need to actually activate this guy so we can see it. And that would be only on the false. I guess we don't need, that's a different path. So we activate the custom window. We also need a button click, which is going to be this guy, and that is a done. We are done making our character. Right? So this guy, if we load everything, we don't need the done, but we do need another window. Let's make this the pun window. And maybe this one has you know, like the join games and stuff. Which I'll work on that a little bit after, I think. I don't want to take this tutorial too long. Right, so we can say join random. Actually, you know what? That's probably all we'll use. We'll just say join random. We don't need anything crazy. For now, anyways. So let's now, if we hit here, we have our character. Actually, we don't even need to create our character. Well, I mean, I guess we could, right? I mean, if we wanted to, we could, say, duplicate this guy, bring him into the pun window as well, so at least you can see him. Oh, I didn't mean to move that. I meant to move this. Right? Maybe make him smaller. I don't know, something like that, maybe. So you can see your player. Right. So now, okay, we've created our player. We load our stuff. We send the event. We come over here and we activate that window, and we're going to do another button click, copy, paste, and if only the button we want to watch is this button actually, and if we get that, then we want to join random room. We will say. Now I haven't built those rooms or anything, but that's going to be the idea. Now for over here though, if we've done this stuff, once we've hit done, we ultimately we want to restart this whole thing, but we want to save this data. So from here, we'll have to add on to this. So from here, we need to get, no, well, actually, let's add on to this now. So we have slider. Slider UI. You know what? No, we want a changed slider changed event. That's what we want. So if this slider has changed, we can take the value, and this slider is the head value. Yes. So this is now head. and copy and paste. Only this one's going to be for the other slider, and it's going to be hand. And if things have changed, then all we want to do is build string, and we have two parts. In our situation, we're going to use convert head, convert hand, separator that, don't add to the end, build that as data, send event, to, well, let me do it, custom to the created player, finish, and come back up here. Nice and simple. So ultimately, if we hit here, what we want to do is we want to save. Right? So just like it is over here. So here we're loading slot 1 custom. Over here we want to save slot 1 custom. And we want to save data. Now first we have to build data, which is going to be this. And we don't even have to worry about getting those values because they'll be 0 to default, and if they change, they'll change from that. And now we can save data, and then we can, let's destroy the created player, and then let's deactivate the custom window, and let's reactivate the slot window and send event at the very bottom to self to start logic. Right, so the game's there, it loads. Okay, we got this, it's ugly but it works. We hit new, we have a character, we have to hide that. But now if I change, oh, he's not changing for us. We need to see what's happening. So we hit change. Oh, that part's changing. And it's sending event custom. It builds the string. Let's see what he is doing. Data. He's not getting the data. Oh, I didn't set the freaking stupid thing. All right, so obviously sending the event and building it is all great. That's one thing, but we still have to set the data. And I totally didn't do that. Set string data. I'm just going to copy that one over. Right. You have to actually transfer the data over, or else it ain't going to work. All right, so we hit new game. Now, as you see, everything there is, and that's all based on just building a string, sending it, and having the player break it down, and getting the child to the prop holder by index. See, then when I'm done, I build or do whatever, and now we should be, oh, we have to do this part. We can't save if we don't do that. So we'd have to have a name. So obviously in the custom window, you probably want like an input field, and that'll be his name. Now I want this button to actually start deactivated then. Add FSM, and I want to get input field get text, unless there's a text limit, note, set, okay, whatever. So there is our, that has data, every frame, string, where's the string? Get string length, that's what I'm looking for. Get string length data, we'll call that the L, int compare, move to the bottom, and if the L is not, or if it's greater than 3, then turn on button. I'm just going to copy that state, paste it over here, bring this over here, and over here it's not, it's not that. We're going to go, if it's less, turn off button. And then all we got to do is set interactable. So we want this button to be true. Move him to the top. And over here, paste it before, but now he's false. All right, so now, with that little tiny bit of stuff dealt with, the other thing we need to do is we're gonna, where are we here? Right, so here we build a string, we destroy him, we activate all these windows, and we start all that. We also need to save. So get, well, let's just go like this. Let's get input, UI get input text, and that'll be like, say, the name, and save. Make sure to put it after we get the field, right? Because now we want to save slot 1. Right, before we were saving slot 1 custom, but now we're saving slot 1. And we're saving that with name. So we save name, we save the data. All right, now let's try that. Oh, I forgot to deactivate that stuff. Let's do that real quick. So we hit that. Okay, we have our player. We can customize them. Let's go something a little different. His name is Joe Bob. And now this is activated. If you watched, if he's deactivated, I can't click him. It's activated. I hit it. Oh, he didn't load properly. He should have loaded. No, he did load. But he decided to not work anyways. Joe Bob. Compared to that, does he have something? It is true, it did go through all that. Oh, I know what I did there. Right, because we have numerous buttons now. I did not clean them up. That's what I didn't do. Right, there's Joe Bob right there. If I click on him, there he is. Okay, so let's clean that up. So, because we're creating objects, we also need to take care of those objects. So these are our created buttons. And I spelled that with a U, apparently. So every time we create something, array add. You know, created buttons, add, created button 1. Copy, paste, only this is created button 2, and paste, created button 2, right? Because over here, when we actually start, we want to run through this array, loop, and done, and result is current. Right, so we have our loop and we have our done event. So when we're done, we actually go down here. So start logic actually starts up. Whoop, don't do that. Start logic, let's get rid of this one. All right, so on the loop, we destroy all the buttons. Destroy current. There we go. So we clean up our buttons that we've already made, if we've made them, right? So now we have Joe Bob because it's saved, right? That's still there. We click it, we can see Joe Bob. Now we gotta hide that, and then we'd have join random. Now that's not going to work because we don't have any of that set up. But that's probably long enough for this tutorial. I don't want this to go too long, and obviously there's a bunch of things here we need to clean up in the ways of what gets activated and deactivated. But the main purpose of this tutorial was, if you look at this logic, well, said, and this whole thing, you can literally just duplicate it, right? And this is button 2. Only now this has slot 2, right? Slot 2 custom, and that's fine. That should be all fine. Over here, we now do slot 2 custom. That's it. That's the only difference between those slots, right? We're just accessing different files. Right now, it'll come up. We'll have Joe Bob, and I can create a new game here, and I can, you know, change him whichever way we want. You know, and he's Mark Guy. I hit create. Right now, if I click Joe Bob, I have him. Now we don't have a back button. I should have hid these, but if I were now to go into the game to reset that and click Mark Guy, there's our Mark Guy. Right. So, like I said, I mean, but everything is based on that string. Everything's based on that string. Absolutely everything. So, they said, I have hand props. If you want this to be helmets, you can do that. Boots, you know, shoulders, capes, swords, whatever. Doesn't matter. You could have as many of these as you possibly want. The only thing you actually have to do is you have to know, like, okay, if we build the string, we're going to build, you know, that slider, that's going to be, you know, slot helmet. Next one's going to be slot shoulders. Next one's going to be slot chest. So that you know that slot 0 is the head, you know, slot 1 is the hand, right? And as long as you have that format kind of idea, then this, you can build this till the cows come home. And said the reason I do it this way is because if we're in multiplayer, right, if we get this event saying, okay, this is what we're doing, prior to this custom, you would say get scene, right? And if we're in scene 0 or scene title menu or whatever however you want to differentiate it, then just do this logic. But if we're, say, in scene 1 or 2 or 3, we're in the multiplayer map. So now we need to actually take this string, and we have to get our photon view ID and build the string again without splitting it yet. We wouldn't split it. We would actually build it again and add to the end of it our ID, and then broadcast it, and we catch it right next to it. We just catch it right here, and then do the same thing, more or less, and then everything works multiplayer. But I'll get into that in a future video when we actually go into load into level. Maybe I'll show you how this all works. But I wanted to make sure that the logic from this is set up, because that was kind of the question on the channel there, right? So all I'm doing is I'm getting a string, I'm ripping it apart, and I'm taking those parts as integers and activating using the activate solo from their groups, right? So, like I said, the custom window, right now I just have sliders. So each one goes to a group. It's the same length as the items in that group. Pretty simple, right? So this guy, he literally just, as you've seen, he doesn't really do much other than if the slider changes, get the value of the slider, we build our string, send it down to the player. Oh, it changed again? Rebuild that string, send it down to the player. You know, if we're done, build that string, get the name, save the data, destroy the crap that we've built, and then let's just restart everything. Destroy the other crap we've built, and yeah, just off we go. Right now from here, we probably actually want to add another button for destroying or to delete the file. And I can get into that too in a future video, so I don't want to make this one too long. So hopefully that answered a few questions, and we'll talk to you guys in the future.